Hello everyone. Hi Mom and Dad. My name is Nathaniel Sibico. You guys can call me Nell. And this is my project, Revitalizing Osmosis in Architecture. And the project is called Kaizuka Subway Station. And so first off, I'd like to thank my committee, Marcel, my chair, Ko, Aitani, and Galen Newman, I don't think he's here, and also my studio professor, Brian Gibbs. Without them or their support, I don't think that I would have gotten this far in this project. And so to start off, this project stemmed from my interests in the impact of architecture on the urban scale. So trying to come up or think of a project that could help me explore that, I decided to do a subway station, which with transportation, a subway station is essentially a gateway to a city or an exit to a city. So I thought that would be a really interesting thing to study. And so for my project approach, I decided to look into the definition of osmosis. This is taking the very basic concept of osmosis. So in a solution, there's a concentrated side and a non-concentrated side of molecules, and those molecules are able to flow freely through a semi-permeable membrane within that. And so molecules in general can move horizontally and vertically, and they don't need any assistance to move through that semi-permeable membrane. And when this is translated into architecture, we can consider that semi-permeable membrane as architecture. Architecture is what influences and helps people move through spaces to different places and also assists people to move vertically. And so this project is located in Fukuoka, Japan. It's one of the largest cities in Japan. And this is a map showing the different railroad entities within the city. And so the Japan Rail is indicated by the red, and that's a nationwide entity. And then we have the Fukuoka subway, which you can see starts to bring or to connect those missing links between the Japan Rail and then the Nishi Nippon Railroad, which is a different private industry or entity. Also, another thing to note about Fukuoka City is that their goal for the future is to become an international city, which means that they want to grow economically, and they're very interested in new construction and the built environment. So zooming into, let me go back one. So the project is located in Hakozaki District, indicated by that little pointer there. And what's interesting about that is you can see the different entities coming together in that one spot, but they never intersect. So that makes it a really prime location for this to become a regional center before reaching the city center itself in Fukuoka. So zooming into Hakozaki District, the main, attraction there is Kyushu University. And so this dashed line indicates where that campus is and a future development, redevelopment within Hakozaki. So Kyushu University is relocating their entire campus to a different location, which is something really rare in Japan. This gives a lot of opportunity to redevelop a very, very large area. And so this summer I participated in a urban design camp, and we were able to study this a little bit more in detail. And this is a zoning diagram of the concepts that the Fukuoka City and Kyushu University have been working on how to redevelop this area. And so the pink dashed line is where I focused my mini master plan in, and the blue indicates where Kaizuka Station is. And the important thing to note with this diagram is that they're wanting to elevate pedestrian access onto a skyline or a pedestrian walkway that's elevated away from vehicular traffic. And so zooming into that railroad map, Kaizuka Station is a really interesting stop. It's the beginning and end of two different entities. And then you can see how the JR railroad never intersects within that. And so this is one of the closest points that they get to. And so I thought it would be one of the best locations for this idea of beginning growth and having a regional center, and the idea of the opening of a gateway to the city. And so zooming into that master plan, so since the subway station or the subway railway connects to a normal train system, it actually starts ascending to ground level, and so it starts to become this barrier between the west and the east side. And so all of the commercial activity is located on the west, and then you see residential on the east. And so the people living on the east side have difficulty moving across the station or finding how to cross the railroad tracks or having to go under it in order to get to the other side. And we can see that in these site photos. So there isn't really a good way to drive up to the station. You have to kind of go under it to get to the other side. And if you're walking, you have to continue down that road where cars pass under. And then you also have the option of one stair that continues over the station. And so this project has two parts, the development of a master plan and then the building itself, which is the station. And so with the master plan, what I did was I continued the existing urban grid through the site to keep it connected. And then to maximize the advantages and the size of the site, I created destination nodes within that. And then I pushed down the subway and then lifted the pedestrian skywalk above one level, and then also connected it to a potential JR station, which would be on the east side. And then the end here would actually continue down through that entire master plan of the redevelopment. And so to make it more transparent and visually accessible to people on both sides of the east and the west, there's a slope connection through that elevated skywalk. And then punctures within that skywalk plaza to connect people to the lower levels. There are 2 levels of parking underground. And then to be able to bring in light and provide vertical circulation to the people on the skywalk plaza and below. And then lastly, embracing the skywalk with surrounding buildings that make it more of a commercial promenade throughout the whole master plan. And so this is a view of the ground level. And what I wanted to show here was how the roads do eventually connect to the other side, or to both sides, but the connection from the 2 different parks on the east and west are not interrupted by any vehicular traffic. And so people are able to flow thoroughly in that middle space and from the concourse of the subway. And this is a program of those buildings surrounding it. So the skywalk is supposed to be sort of this urban park landscape that is the in-between space between these commercial programs and then residential on the east side. And then this is the Florida area ratio diagram showing the different heights and volumes around the skywalk and the distribution of different zonings of commercial all on the public level, and then anything above that is more private. And this is the site plan with the subway station being right here. So this isn't just a huge slab of nothing. There are different programs within the plaza itself, things like children's playground, temporary food stall locations, a physical activity zone, art exhibition zones, and things like that. So a lot of opportunity for the community to gather in this plaza. And so moving to the actual building, the subway station, I continued with the city grid, maintaining that idea, the same ideas with the master plan. And then maintain those vertical connections, and these also provide light, vertical circulation, and will also eventually become wayfinding devices within the subway itself. And so these are then tilted to provide more northern sunlight. And then the commercial program is stacked on top where the skywalk plaza begins. And so that's cut where that sloping action happens so that there's that continuous flow between the east and west sides. And then this is what the final massing generally looks like. And this shows the distribution of the program. So like I said earlier, there's mainly parking on the lower levels, and then on top of that is that green space, that park-like space, and then the retail's directly above that. And so these vertical light wells not only provide all of the functions that I listed earlier, they also provide the idea of connection to nature. From what I've studied in class or what I've been taught is that in Japanese culture, there are times when the connection to nature is more inward focused because they don't have that density within the city and you don't really have that much opportunity for anything outside. And so these are the inward focused connections to nature within the building and the subway. And then bringing back that idea of osmosis, trying to provide as many accessible points through the subway from the lowest levels to the highest points of the retail and being able to connect people where they want to go. And so this is the lowest level of the subway where rainwater collection happens, and then parking above that. And then this is the subway platform where you see it's very linear in nature. Where you see the green patches, that's where the access to the subway begins. And then to introduce a different geometry, I chose to use cylindrical masses, and that is an attempt to help people identify different functions away from the subway functions. And so when people see a different shape, they assume, well, maybe this is something different. And so this is what the interior of that subway platform looks like. And this is the concourse, so this is on the ground level. And there's an introduction of retail and cafe space. And then, so when you come up through those green patches, you come to different ticket gates here. And then you have an option of ascending to the skywalk from the outdoors, or you can go directly into an interior space and go up these spiral stairs here. And so this is a view of the concourse to the subway. So this is the subway here, and then the concourse level, and then all of this is retail space. And so this is the Skywalk Plaza, which is one level above the concourse. And so we can see that these cylindrical spaces are continued up through the whole building. Instead of becoming different programs of function, they become the new circulation, because there's an issue between having the subway be something that's secure versus something not as secure and more public above that. And so these areas where people start ascending from the platform become sources of light for the retail space. And so here's one of the views of the retail spaces. And when I was talking about how these become organizers for wayfinding, since there are 3, you can identify where you are in the building according to where those are. And so level 3 is another level of retail and a lot of area for lounging, people waiting. It's a subway station. Maybe they don't want to wait in the underground in the platform, and they can wait and have a drink or something. And that continues to the roof, where there's a roof garden if people want to be outside, but not necessarily in a pedestrian traffic zone, and areas for gardens and restaurant spaces over here. And so this is a distribution of the commercial activity and the subway activity. So you can see where these 2 different lines end up meeting in between. And then everything above that is commercial activity. And then making sure that the subway platform is secure, and then everything above that is accessible to the public. And so this is a section right in the middle of the building. And then here are the moments of that connection to nature and the light coming through. And so this is the subway, and then this is the first level. And then you can also see how this continues to become access to above, and then they also act as spaces of gathering, so I call them social stairs, where you can gather in the middle. And so this is the structural grid of the master plan, and I'm showing this because it eventually also becomes the structure of the building itself. And so I used a custom precast concrete module, and this was because I tried to keep in mind that idea of economic growth. They're making this into something bigger, it will become bigger, and so it needs to be something that can be adaptable and easily replaceable. And so this is just a detail of what those connections look like. And then an exploded version of those different precast modules, and then the tube structure and spider fitting. And then this diagram shows how those different geometries kind of change to provide different functions, and also provide that sense of security for both functions or programs in the building. And this is a view from the JR station. And so if the JR station is over here, it's directly connected through this plaza, and it connects to the subway station through that Skywalk Plaza. And that's it. Thank you very much.
That's a
Go
lie.
ahead.
Okay, so on that note, we wanted to give the award for excellence to Nell for her efforts.
Congratulations.